Well, hello everybody. How you doing today? I am doing all right. It's your boy Jedi Granville, and well, I have power again. I'm back up to full speed. I just gotta and get back into the groove of doing the things that I do in terms of content creating and all that good stuff. But I wanted to do this kind of special kind of you know when I say special, something where it doesn't involve an intro or outro or anything like that. It's just me talking. It's something I used to do before I had the laptop and everything. In fact, it's coming up a year since I've been doing it with my laptop, but I'm actually doing this on my phone right now. So I'll try to make this as quick as I can, but I'm probably not going to. Knowing me, I mean, when I get the yammering, I just spout a lot of stuff and I have to express it the way I need to. Okay. Uh I recently got my power back on like over a week. I mean, we'll leave. We said like a week ago. About a week. No, it was over. No, less than a week ago. Less than a week ago. Okay. And in that time, my power was out for 17 days. Okay. Now, granted, 17 days. You know, that's the longest stretch I've ever gone with without power. You know, but I have to say, in that time that I was without power, without anything, internet, all that kind of stuff, I come to the realization that I, like so many others in this world, we're so comfortable or we're so ingrained with the technologies of certain things that we're dealt with. It made me kind of realize like, yeah, I become a so-called, not so much a victim, more of a, just a typical human being that needs this, but should realize like if things break down, you shouldn't be so reliant on it. And I'm gonna tell you something right now. For who I am, I can say this. Well, I can honestly say it. I mean, it's not like it's a big deal saying it. I'm someone now who is no longer in the mid 50s of where I am. I'm in my late 50s now, entering my late 50s, and where I'm heading towards 60. And the thing about it, I realized is that I grew up in a time where you can lose power in terms of electricity, water, gas. And the funny thing is, we survived. It was something that we dealt with, and my mom dealt with it, my brothers dealt with it, everything, these things. But I come to the realization that I have been suffocated with the notion that you're too comfortable. We as human beings, we're too comfortable with certain things that's around us. We take them for granted. The simple fact that we breathe air, we take in or be able to walk or anything like that. All these things we take as, but like this, if you suddenly lose your sight, you know, how would you deal with it? If you suddenly lose your hearing, how would you deal with it? If you have to lose be able to speak, how would you deal with it? My point is this: I grew up knowing that I've been around people who were out, able to be able to be ability to walk, be able to see, be able to hear, and I guess I feel like that was something that really hit me when I was without power for nearly or a little over half a month. And it made me open my eyes to myself that wow, for somebody who's been through that, even though that was a long stretch of time, I got to realize like wow, I'm no different than any person that has been through the rough patches of life. And I realized that that is something I've had to face with myself. It's like as a 50-some-year-old man or human being, it seemed like you should be knowing that you should be ready for anything that might come up. But I wasn't. I wasn't prepared. I let myself, I kind of disappointed myself with that notion. I disappointed myself in knowing that I should have been ready, should anticipated the upcoming storm, but in winter fern, it wasn't the winter that got me. It was the fact that I let my guard down, and in fact, I let myself think that I was pretty much invincible in that sense. And there were moments in my life where I thought I was invincible to some degree growing up. But as I got older, I realized, like, no, you're not. You're just as human as anybody else. And you need to wake up and realize that you are you know, without fault. You're without these kind of situations. You're without these kind of manifestations that come into play that might change your point of view of certain things. So, really, what am I getting at? I'm getting at the fact that my eyes were more open while I was in the darkness. It's funny how I was able to see the light a little bit more than I was when I was with light. And there were moments where I broke down and cried, but not for not having the essentials that we usually as typical human beings have. I was breaking down because I was allowing myself to realize that I had to hold all what I heard dear, not just for myself, but for the person who I take care of, which is my brother, who's disabled and everything. And I had to really worry about his emotions, his feelings. Even though he might not realize, like, okay, that this is what he's going through. This is the what is this is the normality that's been knocked off his rocker, and he has to deal with it. But I have to feel for him or take in all that he might be feeling and make it seem like whatever he's feeling, I got to make sure that I don't allow it to, you know, creep in and manifest itself into that. So it was such a revelation of me going through all that and making me realize that you, my friend, are not special when it comes to certain things, and you got to realize that you're, you have to deal with it. But at the same time, I'm really thinking to myself, like, I am so weak. I'm not strong enough. I mean, but I've had people tell me through that time, like my nieces, telling me, Uncle, I wish I had a third of your strength. I wish I had a third of the strength that you have in terms of making yourself, do what you have to do and go what you have to go through. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't know where you think that I'm strong, because where I'm strong, I have nothing of that. I have no strength whatsoever. What you're talking about? I mean, strength, me. I can tell you right now, I've never been strong in my life, at least from my point of view. You know, but the strength that I feel like I don't have is the one that is the thing that actually is what I've always had, which is just deal with it. Don't be like some of these crybabies out here. They be like, "Oh my God, I can't take this anymore. I'm gonna." It's like, no. I take in what's going on, put it into my head, process it like a computer, and try to make some sense, or try to make it where it's going to work out for the best. And that's what I did for myself. That's what I did for my brother. Because our main priority with anything when it came to all this was my brother. How am I going to take care of him? How am I going to deal with him? And how am I going to make sure that he understands that when the things get back on the line, will he understand that? Because as a friend of mine said, even Kevin Lambert told me, this is only temporary, which it was. It was just temporary. But some things, some people can't understand is only temporary. And that was the thing I had to do the most was have my brother understand this is not going to last forever. It's going to be short term, you know. But again, the thing that I was going through, I've been through before. And the weird thing is that, growing up, it was, like I say, I've had these situations, these outcomes, these kind of altercations happen to me, growing up. And the fact that I had this happen to me, and the funny thing is, I um, I was without power just a few years ago, which was back during the pandemic when a hurricane hit here, and we was out of power for over a week. We was out without power for like, was it 8 days? I think. No, not 8 days. Like 9 days. You know, we was out power for out that. With this, it was something more drastic that kept us in the dark, and not because limbs were broken, power lines are down, all that stuff. This ice storm did some damage to part of my house, and this is the reason why I had to be in this, in the dark, in the cold, for the duration until it got turned back on. So it was like I say, through all this, it was a total learning process for me. It's like you think you get older, you think like you reached the epiphany of learning something. Turns out, I realized I had to, like I say, I had to get humbled. In sense of that, you still have a lot to learn in your older age. Okay, just because you are at an age where it's like, okay, you're pretty wise, you still haven't learned anything. You haven't learned everything. And I know that that's what happened to me. I hadn't learned everything or hadn't learned anything that needed to, put myself in check. And from that point on, it made me realize that, yeah, you just become, like I say, I became the victim of my own negligence or, ignorance in terms of that, you know. And like I say, again, with all that was going on, I became overwhelmed with a lot of stuff. A lot of things were overwhelming me. Like I say, I broke down and cried, a couple of times through that. But at the same time, I kept myself prayed up. I kept myself, you know, encouraging people. Even my niece, was saying it's like, you know, even though you're going through this, keep up the fact that this is the time where you need to encourage people who might be going through something probably far worse than you are. Because I know for me, I didn't lose my house, you know, because I know through this ice storm that happened, people lost their homes. And there's nothing you can do about that. That happens. But for me, I was just, like I say, I went through a small stone that was thrown in the river that created some ripples. And through those ripples, it made me see things a little differently. And that's pretty much what I'm trying to say is that whatever I went through, I think it was necessary. And I believe it was. I believe it definitely needed to be necessary because it made me realize that you, my friend, are not. You learned. You, like I said, you thought you was able to, you know, come back from all this. It's like, yeah, but you are more susceptible to, emotion than you thought you were. And after that, I realized, after all this, it's been coming up almost a month now since this whole thing started. In fact, next week it'll be a month. Well, when I lost my power for this year, it made me realize that, Walter, yeah, you need to reevaluate who you are in terms of what you are, you know, because if you think that because you are ready for anything that comes up, and you think that it's like, oh, you're gonna make it, yeah, because push comes to shove, I really realized that, yeah, I needed to kind of put myself in that thought process of who I am and what I'm able to do. I mean, true enough, I will fight for what needs to be done in terms of desperation. And the funny thing is, through this whole ordeal, I've gone through far worse than this. That's the thing about this. When my mom passed away 15 odd years ago, I went through a whole hell of a lot worse ordeal. And now I'm not, and it wasn't even was so much without power. It wasn't what it was how am I going to move on in terms of paying for certain things, doing certain things. And at that time, certain things were breaking down. How am I able to deal with this? How was that was a moment where I was really more vulnerable than I was here. But what I didn't realize is how much I was in terms of really thought I got. I mean, I thought I moved on. I thought the pain that or something that went through was I can deal with. But it turns out it's like, no, you're just as not weak, but you're just vulnerable to certain things than you thought you were. And I can tell you now that anybody who goes through certain things, just remember this: someone else is going to go through far worse than you are. I mean, like a friend of mine is dealing with a family member, and they're they may not live to see the next day. I'm not going to name the name because I feel like maybe that's not my business to put out there to put the name. But I will say that, hey, I feel for him. I know what he feels going through with that because I've gone through that, you know. But he knows I'm here for him, and that's what matters the most. But like anything else, I realize, like anything that we go through in life, we must maintain the sense of, be ready to just be ready to make sure that you're able to keep up with what happens next in your life, and knowing that people said I was strong, I think the strength comes from them believing in me, you know. And I'm not saying I don't put it to God because I was praying through all this. I think God had to show me, Walter, you need to be humbled in this matter, and I thank him for that because I think I see things a whole lot differently than I did before. So, and I think it was necessary. It was definitely necessary for me. So, but that's pretty much what I need to say here, and that was something I was going to say regardless in talking about this whole thing. And I wanted to do this without some introductions. I didn't want to do this with some pictures. I didn't want to do anything like that. A, because I don't have my laptop right now; it's not here. But then two, I think like I want to do it this kind of way because I think it's necessary to do it without a lot of bravado or anything like that. A lot of tricks of the trade. I wanted to do it where it's like, hey, you see me truly unfiltered right now, and that's what matters the most. I want you to see me as Walter, Walter Ross, not Jedi Granville, Walter Ross, and know that Walter Ross, or put like this, Jedi Granville, my alter ego on YouTube, he has to go through the waves. He got to go through the storm once in a while and realize that, hey, sometimes you're not set for what's coming. So, and that's all I need to say about this. I think I need to put that out there because for me, I think I need to get things off my chest, and I need to talk about certain things. I mean, I know people like, I know he's processing things. He's had an epiphany. He's had all these things about, but I feel I need to really share these things and show that I go through stuff. You know, like anyone else, they go through stuff, and that's pretty much the downplay of all that. That's pretty much all that. Now, as far as content that's coming up on my channel, um, I don't really know, but I will be in the process of dealing with being with a friend of mine, which is um, Sci-Fi Century, where we're going to be talking about a film that he introduced to me a while back, which was called Blood In, Blood Out. Hopefully, we'll get to that, soon or one day because I want to talk about it. I definitely. Um, as far as this month, I'm not sure. I mean, something might come up where it just springs up and, you know, I'll make it happen. But for right now, it's quiet time on this because, like I say, stuff needs to still register and process. But next month, I'm definitely going to come out with a bang and make sure that I bring out the heat and talking about because some of the things that I definitely want to talk about is I know that a 70th anniversary, I know a 70-year release of Forbidden Planet is coming up. I think that's next month, if I'm not mistaken. I have to check again, but I want to talk about that. And I definitely know next month I'm going to have a thing where I'm going to talk about the because it's something I had said before a while back, which is different composers and certain ones like Jerry Goldsmith, Akira Kofube, and John Williams. All these individuals who made great scores in the past. Have a panel, or if they want to choose, they want to be on there. We discuss what's your favorite score to some of these films that they've done, and I want to talk about that. I want to discuss it. So. But with that being said, I'm gonna let you go. Like I say, it's pretty much been a true, release of myself. To show what I'm feeling, and I feel like I needed to do this. I think this makes me feel better. It makes me feel good knowing that I shared this with you. Now, how you take it, it's up to you. So. But as I always close out, I will close out, but it won't be no, entry. I mean, what you call anything like that, because like I said, I'm doing this on my phone and everything. I'll say this as always through through the ending of it. I just say, y'all take care, as I have done. Y'all please be patient, which I've definitely done. Hopefully y'all be in a better spot or anything like that. If you are in a bad spot, just trust me, you'll get through it like I have. And always keep everything in your heart alive. All right? So, y'all have a great day, have a great week, have a great month. And hopefully, the rest of this year is, well, if things happen your way, just remember this: you're not alone in it. So, take care now.